What's going on, everybody? This is Cody, the home theater hobbyist, and today I have my full review of the SVS Prime Tower floor standing speakers. So let's get to it. So here they are, the Prime Towers from SVS. These are passive floor standing speakers, which means you will need an integrated amplifier, AV receiver, or power amplifier to send power to these speakers. They don't have their own power supply. But I have them here in this piano gloss black surface finish, but they also come in an oak veneer known as black ash. And I'm wearing these gloves because I have them in piano gloss black, and I'm trying to keep the fingerprints off of them. So that's just why I'm doing that. Now, as I said, I've got the cloth grill on, and it covers about 3/4 of the front length. And down there at the bottom is the SVS logo on the cloth grill. And one thing I like about these speakers is each corner actually has a chamfer on it, and it's wide up here at top, and it actually goes narrow as you transverse down to the bottom, so it actually tapers down, which is a nice design. I kind of like that design aesthetic. Now, to pull the cloth grills off, all you do is give it a little tug, and they come off. They use this pin and cup design so that all you have to do is take this little plastic pin and push it into these little cups along the front of the speaker, and there are a total of 6 pins and cups on each speaker. Now, the frame itself is nice and sturdy, it feels really good, and as you can see, you can definitely see through it. But this grill itself is also tapered, so it goes from narrow to wide down there at the bottom, so that's again a nice little design feature that I like to point out. Now that I have the cloth grills off, you can see the beautiful woofers right here, and you got a total of 4 different driver units. You have the tweeter up here, and this is responsible for a frequency response from 2.1 kilohertz all the way up to the top end of 25,000 hertz. Then you have the mid-range woofer, which is responsible for frequencies from 350 hertz to 2.1 kilohertz, where these two cross over. And then you have the first woofer down here, and this is responsible from 350 hertz all the way down to the floor, which is about 30 hertz on these speakers. And the second woofer is actually responsible for 165 hertz down to 30 hertz. So this is what SVS calls a 3.5-way speaker, because each drive unit is actually tuned slightly differently versus a typical, let's say, 3-way speaker, which would be tweeter, mid-range, and 2 woofers playing the exact same frequencies. So that's just something that SVS has done, and it's kind of cool. Also on this tweeter, you can see there's an SVS logo there, and again, that's all the branding on the front of the speaker there and also on the cloth grill. Now let's talk about the bottom, rear, and sides of the speaker. First and foremost, you see you have the same surface finish as the remainder of the speaker, but you also get feet on each one of the corners to protect the surface and the speaker itself. Now these feet are rubberized, come out of the box, they're rubberized, so you can put them on wood floors, but you also get the carpet spikes, so you can spike these as well. And they do have the self-adjustment levers there, but they easily just screw in, and there you go. Also comes with a little cup disc if you want to put that on the spike if you need to, but otherwise the surface finish looks good and you get feet out of the box, so that's a definite plus. Moving on to the rear, the first thing you'll notice is the surface finish on the rear is the same as the side and the front, so there is nice continuity of design all the way around the speaker. There are also 2 ports in the center of the speaker, or just below center, and 1 for each one of the woofers. They're about 2 inches in diameter. Now this review unit did not come with port plugs, so if your unit does not come with port plugs, you want to make sure that you keep the speaker about 10 inches or so away from the nearest wall so you get the best bass performance. Now just below that is a sticker that gives you the model number and also the name of the speaker, in this case Prime Tower and SVS. So if you have any issues, you can call in with that model number that's down there. Below that sticker is the single pair of binding posts. You've got black for negative and red for positive. Remember, when you're connecting speaker wire, black with black, red with red. Now this does accept all major speaker connections, including spades, banana plugs, and also bare speaker wire. And all you need to do to connect spades or bare speaker wire is unscrew the black portion or red portion of the cap, and that allows it to screw up and you can slide the spade in or the speaker wire in. Now that we've talked about the design and overall features of the speakers, I do want to go ahead and play a couple of audio samples so you can hear that these do emanate sound. Hopefully you guys enjoy those audio samples. Now I'm going to rank the Prime Towers in a few different categories from 1 to 5. 1 being the absolute worst and 5 being the absolute best. The first category I'm going to rank is design, and I give the towers a 4 out of 5. Overall, I love the surface finish. Piano gloss black looks fantastic on these speakers, but as we all know, gloss black is hard to keep clean, so you will have to keep a lint rag around to keep lint and fingerprints and stuff like that off. But if you don't really want to deal with it, they also have that oak veneer, which is called black ash, and you can buy those. Now for me, I'd probably go for these just because they just look so good. They really do look good, but I definitely understand if you don't want to go with having to keep your speakers clean all the time. So I do like that. I also like the way these drivers look along the front face, and me personally, I'd probably keep the grill off just because it looks so good, so clean. And I like these chamfers down here along the edges because it has a nice flow to design. And overall, I think SVS has done a great job with these speakers. Now, I do have a couple of little small gripes about the overall design. The first one being, I wish they included magnetic grills so they would easily attach via magnets and you wouldn't have to touch the speaker when you're trying to attach them or anything like that. The pin and cup system works, but you have to touch it, and you could mar the surface with these pins if you were really trying because they're just plastic, right? So just to keep it clean, it'd be nicer if they had magnetic grills. My other gripe is I wish they included dual binding posts so that you could buy wire or bi-amp these speakers. I'm a fan of bi-amping myself. I don't really do it with my speakers as much, but I like the ability to be able to do it. And you can't do that with these speakers. And for those two reasons, I give the design a 4 out of 5. Now let's talk sound quality, and I give the Prime Towers a 4.5 out of 5. If I had to sum these up in one word, I'd say they are detailed. They play the details very, very nice. I'm really happy to say that. When it comes down to the stereo image, these do a great job left to right and also placing vocals nice in the center, but there's also depth and also some height to the image, so that is a definite plus. When I was watching movies, I really enjoyed watching movies on these. They have nice dynamic range. You have the ability to have good decent bass with the woofers, so you can feel the bass just a little bit, which is quite nice, but they also have a nice high end. When I was listening to music, I found that the high end was nice and crisp. The tweeter was definitely doing its job. The mid-range came in nice and smooth, and the bass was definitely there. I also found that the sound image overall was just a touch above neutral. It was just a little bit bright, but not harsh at all, and overall I did like it. Now, the only downside that I found to these particular speakers was I didn't find them to be as engaging when I was listening to music as I like to be engaged with a pair of speakers. They played everything accurately and with detail, but it just wasn't as engaging. But when I was watching movies, I really enjoyed these speakers, so I have to give them a 4.5 out of 5. The final category I'm going to rank is value, and I give these a 4.5 out of 5. The Black Ash version costs $4.99 a piece or $1,000 for the pair, while the Piano Black version, which I have here, is $5.99 a piece or $1,200 for the pair. Now, if that seems expensive for you, in the world of floor standing speakers, it's not really that expensive. Sure, you can find some that are less expensive than these, but you can also spend a ton more money. You can spend $60,000 a pair, you can spend $100,000 a pair. You can spend even more than that for a pair of floor standing speakers. So $1,000, $1,200 doesn't seem all that expensive. But the good news is these come with the SVS, I'll say, guarantees. That includes a 45-day in-home trial, and if you don't like them, you can return them, and SVS pays for the return shipping. But if you do like them, you get to keep them, obviously, but they come with a 5-year unconditional warranty. So if something happens to them, you just call SVS up, give them the serial number on the back of the speaker, and they take care of you. And that is a great value. And because of that customer service guarantee, that's why I give these a 4.5 out of 5. Before I conclude this video, I thought I'd go ahead and address one of the questions that I received in the unboxing video of these Prime Tower speakers. The question was pretty simple, and I thought it was actually a really good question. It was simply, how do the Prime Towers compare to the Emotiva T2 Plus floor standing speakers that you reviewed a few months ago? And for those of you who haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description below and you can go check it out. But I thought it was a good comparison because there are a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences between these two speakers. First and foremost, let's talk about similarities. The first similarity is they are both floor standing speakers and they cost about $1,000 for the pair. They are also both effectively three-way speakers in that they have a tweeter, mid-range driver, and dual woofers down here at the bottom. I know SVS says these are 3.5-way, but effectively it's a three-way speaker. So they're similar in that regard. But after that point, it kind of changes, and it changes in some pretty critical ways. First and foremost, the Prime Tower has a 1-inch dome tweeter, while the T2 Plus has a folded ribbon design tweeter. The mid-range driver on the Prime Towers is 4.5 inches, while the mid-range driver on the T2 Pluses is 5.25 inch. The woofers on the Prime Towers are 6.5 inches, while the woofers on the T2 Pluses are 8 inches. So there are some pretty significant differences. And also, let me not forget to mention, the cabinet on the T2 Plus is also much larger than the cabinet on the Prime Towers. So in a lot of ways, there are a lot of differences. And honestly, the T1 Plus may be a little bit better comparison, but I haven't listened to the T1 Pluses, so I have to talk about my experience between these and the T2 Pluses. Okay, so first and foremost, one of the things that I like about the Prime Towers is you have a nice balanced sound coming out of all the drivers. Whereas with the T2 Pluses, I found the mid-range was a little bit more prominent than, let's say, the tweeter and things like that. And so it's going to be kind of up to you how you feel about the mid-range. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. From a tweeter design standpoint, I personally prefer the dome-style tweeter sound versus the folded ribbon design sound. So I got to give it to the Prime Towers. But moving into the mid-range, the T2 Plus was upgraded from the old T2 to have a smoother mid-range response, and I love the smoothness in that mid-range design. It was really smooth. I like the T2 Plus mid-range, and I like it more than I like the Prime Towers. Now moving on to the woofers down there at the bottom. You've got 8-inch versus 6.5 inch, and you have a bigger cabinet. So it plays deeper bass, and it actually plays more detailed than the Prime Towers. But again, that's not really an apples-to-apples comparison because it's larger cabinet and also larger driver. But hey, that's what it sounds like. Now, as far as watching movies and listening to music, I like watching movies on both the Prime Towers and on the T2 Pluses. The Prime Towers give you that detail there that is just nice. I mean, it's great. I really like the Prime Towers when watching movies. But listening to music, they both do a great job. But the thing that like I said before, with the Prime Towers is it's not as engaging when I was listening to music. So I got to give the edge to Emotiva on that front. Now, which one should you buy? It basically depends on all my previous comments. How important is bass to you? How much music versus home theater, do you watch and listen to? Things like that. So it's going to be completely up to you. So those are my thoughts on the T2 Pluses versus the Prime Towers. Overall, I highly recommend the Prime Towers from SVS. I think these look fantastic in this piano gloss black surface finish, but if that's not for you, they have the oak veneer that is black ash. I also like the way this front looks with the grill off. You got all these drivers here that you can see, and I would definitely rock them with the grill off if that were me, if these were mine. I also like the way these sound when you're watching movies. You have a nice detailed presentation, and the sound is nice and balanced coming from all the different drivers. Same way with the music, it's also detailed. You also get nice balance between all the drivers. The only thing I wish is that music was just a little bit more engaging, but again, that's just a personal preference, the way it sounded to me. I do wish these included dual binding posts so that you could buy amp or buy wire these, but if that's not a concern for you, then these are a fantastic pair of speakers. If you want to purchase the Prime Towers, the Prime Bookshelves, the Prime Center, Elevation, the PB2000, whatever you want to purchase from SVS, use those links in the description below. It does help support the channel and tells SVS that you support the home theater hobbies, so I would appreciate it. Please leave any comments below. Also like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.